What up, you fluffy bastards? My name is Liquid Blitz, and today I'm going to go through all the changes most likely coming in the May update to Battlefield 1. There have been 2 updates on the community test environment, and I'm going to go over the biggest changes from both of them. Now, I don't know if these changes are likely to be in the May update specifically, but it's very likely, to be honest. That being said, they are currently being tested, so they may be tweaked before they're released to the main game. So, as always, take all these changes I'm about to list with a pinch of salt. There are way too many changes for me to list in this video. This video would end up being like 30 minutes long. So if you want to see the full list of changes, or you simply just don't want to watch this video, I'll put links to both patches in the description, so go check those out. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's kick off by looking at maps and game modes. The first change is something that's made a lot of people happy. They've changed the ticket count, the total ticket count, before the game ends, for domination from 100 tickets to 200, which is a very welcome change in my opinion, because I'm all for sort of longer games. I personally think they should also increase Team Deathmatch from 100 to, not necessarily 200, but maybe 150, because Team Deathmatch, the games are over very quickly. But that's one beard's one opinion, so... Now, the next few changes are to do with Conquest. Now, I'm a big Conquest player. I'd say at least 90% of the time I'm playing Conquest, because I like the big, open 64-player matches. Let's rattle these off pretty quickly. First of all, capturing points gives you fewer points. But don't worry, the points you get when capturing, it ticks more often, so you get less points per tick, but you get more ticks. So hopefully that will sort of even out to give you roughly the same points that you get already. And thirdly, the last change to do with Conquest points, this is completely new. You now get control bonuses if your team has 3 or more flags more than the enemy team, if you see what I say, if you see what I'm saying. So in other words, if your team is just completely dominating and has 3 or higher more flags than the enemy team, you now get bonus control points, I suppose, periodically. I'm not sure when you get the points, but I suppose this is going to help you feel a bit more sort of rewarded for kicking ass, because at the moment there's no reward for doing really well, if you see what I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on to vehicles. Now, this is the biggest... There are more changes to do with vehicles and sort of stationary weapons than any other sort of section. So this is going to be a huge section on the screen for vehicles. The first thing worthy of mention is they've tweaked the self-repair for the heavy tank, the light tank, the Saint-Chamond tank, and the artillery truck. First of all, they've reduced the health you actually get from repairing per cycle from 320 to 200. So that's quite a reduction in health you get back. But... they've reduced the repair cycle time from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. So, in other words, it's smaller, faster repairs. These changes actually make these vehicles repair the same as the Landship, which was previously unique, but now they're all the same. I will say, though, that these changes make interruptions to repair cycles with, say, sort of the cable. That's one of the main uses for me for using cable. It is shooting at like a tank which is almost dead to stop it from repairing. That makes those much less effective now, so I'm honestly not sure how I feel about this change. Anyway, let's move on to the next change. The big-ass sort of field gun and the stationary AA cannon, they have had their health doubled and they are now indestructible. That sounds weird. Let me clarify that. They're now indestructible so that they can't disappear. You know, before, when they got destroyed, they 100% just disappeared, so no repair, nothing. Now, they can't disappear, but they get disabled once they reach below 50% health. But you can use the repair tool to repair them, and they become usable again only once it's reached 100% health. So you have to repair it all the way before you can use it. In my opinion, that's fantastic, because the repair tool has always seemed under-needed in Battlefield 1. I've never bothered with the repair tool, you just don't need it. Moving on, there are some big-ass changes to planes, both attack planes and fighter planes. Bombers haven't had any changes as far as I can tell. But first of all, let's look at attack planes. First of all, the speed boost of the Airship Buster version, the cooldown, the recharge, has been reduced from 30 seconds to 15 seconds, so that's been halved. So that's straight away, that's a big improvement to the Airship Buster. Secondly, for the Airship Buster, the main gun, the machine gun's damage has been increased from 32 to 40. So that's another big boost for the Airship Buster. Thirdly, the turning speed for all attack plane variants has just been increased, so now it's just slightly slower than the fighter plane at turning. And the speed boost on the Airship Buster now actually makes it faster at turning than the fighter plane. So these changes should really give the Airship Buster specifically a bit more oomph and sexiness. You're going to see a lot more Airship Busters in the skies. You're also going to see a lot more fighter planes in the skies as well. Now let me explain why. Fighter plane tweaks. The dogfighter has just been given, and this is really actually very, very big. The dogfighter now has incendiary ammo for its secondary weapon, if you see what I'm saying. This incendiary ammo does greatly increase damage to other aircraft, and now it can completely cripple planes much faster than it could before. Like, apparently, you can, like, break wings and things faster, so it disables and cripples planes really fast, this incendiary ammo. This sounds awesome to me. I don't know about you, that sounds really good to me, and hopefully it will reduce the number of trench fighter planes in the skies. Because Lord knows there was too many trench fighters. And secondly, the dogfighter's emergency repair function has now been changed to a speed boost, and I suppose this makes logical sense to me, because being a fighter plane, sort of speed should be everything, especially if you're dogfighting with other planes. You should be fast enough that you shouldn't need to rely on an emergency repair, to be honest. And conversely, the bomber killer variant of the fighter plane, the speed boost has been changed to the emergency repair. So they've switched around, basically. And I'd say that too is logical, because if the enemy bombers have gunners, they can quickly rip the shit out of any fighter plane that's following them and shooting them. So I'd say in that case, repair is more sort of needed than speed. At least that's what I think. Anyway, moving away from planes, the flamethrower heavy tank, the driver's second weapon, which was, I believe it was your basic shell cannon, it's now been changed to a flamethrower to match all of your gunner positions. And that's excellent, in my opinion. That's much more sort of in keeping with the close-range nature and point to using the flamethrower tank. It honestly never made much sense to me that the flamethrower tank, the driver never had a flamethrower. That was always weird to me. And I'm going to leave it there for vehicles. There are actually a few other big sort of tank weapon changes, but I have seriously limited screen space, and I need to sort of stop it here. So if you want to see all the other important things, there's a few changes to the light tank. So if you like light tanks, go check out the links in the description for all the vehicle changes. Right, anyway, let's move on to the next section. Bayonet charging has had a few changes, actually, and they sound pretty good. First of all, when you're charging, the footsteps of enemy soldiers that are nearby are louder to sort of increase general threat awareness, which I think is pretty damn cool. Although I've got to say, not that logical, because if you're charging, especially if you're doing the sort of battle cry, then you're not really going to hear footsteps loud. If anything, they would be quiet. But I'm not going to complain. Secondly, I might have got this wrong because they worded it poorly, but they said pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, but they pretty much said louder, the enemy's voiceover is louder while charging. Now, that can mean one of two things, but I think that means the enemy's voice is louder when they are charging. The battle cry, do you see what I mean? But it could mean that when you're charging, their voices are louder. That could go either way, but they've worded that poorly. Now, the next change is more important, to be honest. They've reduced the turn rate while you're charging. Now, that's a big deal. It was already pretty limited. So now, all that's going to do is increase the number of times you charge just past an enemy, and then you get your arse firmly handed to you. And fourthly, now this is the single biggest change to bayonet charges. Ignore the turning speeds and the volumes of footsteps and charging noises. This is a biggie. They've removed, completely 100% removed, the damage reduction you have while you are charging. That is a big one. So now you just take normal damage. Shiver my timbers! So you're going to find you die a lot more when you charge now. Anyway, let's move on to the next section, gameplay, which I've called gameplay. A couple of the changes aren't really to do with gameplay, but they fit here more than anywhere else. First of all, the game now automatically shows a low ammo icon on teammates that have low ammo. You know, when people ask for ammo, they have a little ammo symbol above the head if you're playing support. Well, that now shows automatically, which is great when you're playing support class, and it should mean it's actually very good, because it should mean people have to ask for ammo less. It's always annoying as balls when you're looking a support player square in the eyes with your hands out asking for ammo, and then they just turn around and fuck off. It's very annoying. Anyway, moving on, the next little sort of tweak to gameplay, it's actually a bug fix, it's not a change, but it's quite a big, it's a bug fix of such epic proportion that I'm listing it as a proper change. You no longer take gas or fire damage after entering a tank, because so it was very annoying. If you're sort of like, there's a gas explosion outside a tank, you start choking. When you got into like a heavy tank, you would take a couple of ticks of damage further, and you would die if you were on low health, even inside the tank, but they've fixed that now, so you no longer, as soon as you get in the tank, gas and fire damage just stops dead. Now the next tweak is actually a setting. They're adding an option to adjust the amount of camera shake that you get sort of caused by explosions, etc., etc. So I'm personally immediately setting that to as low as it will possibly go, because I'm anal about settings, and I don't want to I don't want to shake. I don't want to shake every time there's an explosion. I prefer to have complete control over my person, and I don't want him shitting his pants every time there's an explosion. Anyway, the next change isn't really a gameplay change, but I didn't know where else to put it. Players using controllers can now do custom sort of button and stick mappings. Being a PC player, I honestly never knew you couldn't do that anyway. But yeah, now you can. So get to changing them buttons, man. In fact, what are you doing? Buy a mouse and keyboard, for God's sake. What is wrong with you? Mouse and keyboard for the win! The next section, network improvements. Now, the netcode improvements have fucked a lot of people off. As many of you may know, as you may be very annoyed about, in the last sort of big update, they released changes to the netcode, which resulted in a lot of sort of players with slower connections having a much harder time hitting people, to the point where people were sort of shooting people that were stood still and they were missing. Weird shit like that. In other words, they ballsed things up for many people, sort of hit registration and shit like that. Although I must say I wasn't one of those people, because it felt fine to me, because I do play on sort of EU servers where I have a very fast connection. Well, anyway, they have made some further changes to the network shit in the community test environment updates to fix what they originally screwed up. And I'm not going to lie, half of this shit is over my head, so I'm just going to list it all. Well, I'm going to list half of it. First of all, they have implemented per-region threshold settings for server-side hit detection, 130 milliseconds for US and Europe, and 200 milliseconds elsewhere. Just in case you didn't know, the recent change that ballsed everything up meant that players with higher pings have to lead further than other players in front of their target, if you see what I'm saying, to make up for the lag difference. But now they've implemented thresholds. So now it says 130 milliseconds for US. If you're in the US and you have 130 ping, you don't have to alter your leading whatsoever. As an example. But if you have 150 ms, so 20 milliseconds slower, then you have to lead a little bit. Basically, if your ping is higher than those values, then you need to lead your target, and the worse your ping is, the more you need to, the further you need to lead your target. It's shit, but to be honest, you shouldn't be playing anywhere where your ping is over that threshold. If you have no choice, then I feel sorry for you, but if you do have a choice, if you live in the US or Europe, play on servers with a good ping, man. What are you doing? The next thing they listed in the update notes for the netcode is they fixed the server-side hit registration interpolation. Hopefully that means better. Next, what I've listed on my screen is fixed a bunch of other network shit. There's like 10 more bullet points to do with changes to the netcode, and I don't understand any of them. So if you're into the hardcore sort of hit registration shit, go check out the links in the description to find out more. The last point that is worth making, and I do understand this next point, they've tweaked a bunch of values so that there is now less kill trades under 30 meters distance. Just in case you don't know what a kill trade is, and a lot of people won't know, to be honest, it's not something that you generally talk about. A kill trade is when two players shoot each other and kill each other at the same time. Until recently, until the big update that ballsed everything up to do with the netcode and hit registration, I never experienced a kill trade. Not one time did I ever have a kill trade until the last patch. But after the update that screwed things up, I'm now having kill trades left, right and centre. I mean, seriously, all the time. Well, they since tweaked things again to reduce the number of kill trades specifically under 30 meters. Now, I honestly don't know if I like that. On one hand, it is sort of realistic because at long ranges there's literally more time to react and more time for two people to both pull a trigger at the same time, if you see what I'm saying. And you don't have that time at sort of very close range. But on the other hand, it's actually not realistic at all, unless you sort of get shot directly in the head. And sometimes, even then, if being shot in the head does something to your nervous system which makes your hand contract and pull the trigger, even then, kill trading is actually totally realistic. Two enemies looking and aiming at each other. If one shoots the other in the chest, it is the guy who gets shot is completely and totally capable of pulling the trigger. So kill trades are actually realistic, but anyway, I sort of, as I say, I actually enjoy kill trades. It's weird. I like logic, and for some bizarre reason, I sort of find it funny when two people just shoot and kill each other at the same time. But with these changes, there's going to be less of that under 30 meters, so it is what it is. Anyway, I'm pretty damn sure at this point that the entire screen will be completely covered with information, and that is literally everything you see on the screen right now isn't even half of all the sort of bullet points and changes that they've made in these last two big updates to the community test environment. As I said, I'm not sure if they will all be in the May update. Some of them may be saved for the update after that, but to be honest, most of the changes you've seen here will be in the May update. You can trust most of them. That being said, as I say, not even half the changes are on the screen right now, so I urge you to go check out the links in the description to learn the rest. And some of the things I've missed out are worth checking. I've cherry-picked all the big changes, but there are some changes that to do with planes and tanks, because I don't play vehicles that much, so I've left out a lot of the things that you might find important if you do play vehicles a lot, so go check out those links. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. Like this video if you liked it, like this video if you didn't like it, and join me in my next video. My next video is most certainly going to be the next part of Outlast 2, because I'm recording 2 or 3 more parts tomorrow. So tomorrow I will be shitting my pants once again!